I'm Danny Flexen.
This is Jolie.
And we're here for the latest edition of Who You Backing, our weekly draft-style competition where we pick against each other on a specific category. And despite my current apparel, it's nothing to do with football. Although, belated congratulations to my team, Liverpool Football Club, for ending their traumatic, at times, 30-year wait for the Premier League Championship.
Yeah, my congratulations in the post, but it might take a few weeks, that.
grudging congratulations, I feel it might be. Now, last week, what was the topic last week?
Trainers, best trainers
in the world. And I thought we'd get a lot more criticism in the comments than we did. So that's, thankfully.
I didn't even look, to be honest. I just...
They
don't really make sense, a lot of them. So I just thought, nah.
But we want your comments, guys.
No, we do.
we want your reasonable comments. But this week, with the recent news that Billy Joe Saunders has pulled himself out of the running to face Canelo on September, whatever the date is Canelo's fighting, the usual September weekend that he takes, we're going to do who would you like to see Canelo face in his next fight. And Saunders is still included. Just because he's ruled himself out, we can still pick him as someone we'd like to fill that spot. But that's what it is. Who you'd most like to see Canelo fight. It's got to be reasonable. It can't be, Canelo against Anthony Joshua. It's got to be.
Why would I pick that?
No, but I'm not saying just for you. I'm just saying explaining the parameters so people can't criticise us.
Coronavirus made him put on some weight. Could be at heavyweight. I know what you mean.
I guess anyone from middleweight to light heavyweight for Canelo is acceptable at the moment, as long as they're active fighters. I did consider Andre Ward come back, but I just thought that's too outlandish to consider. Yeah. So they're the rules, and this week it's up to me to ask the trivia question to Joe, and if he gets it right, he gets the first pick. If he gets it wrong, he can.
He's gonna get it wrong. I just do. I always do.
Well, we shall see.
Let's see.
So, outside of Gennady Golovkin, who's the last Canelo opponent to win against him on one of the scorecards? You're not even going to guess. Guess any Canelo opponent that gave him a close fight.
I'll show Mayweather, but it's not him. I know who the guy is because we've spoke about him on the pound for pound one.
Yeah, we have, yeah.
I'm sure his name begins with an O or an A, or is it? Yeah, go on. Who is it?
Erislandy Lara.
It wasn't O or A.
Yeah, it was a vowel. It was a vowel.
Yeah, it was a vowel.
It was a vowel,
Nah, to be fair, It is what it is.
It is what it is.
You can have the honours then, mate.
Yeah, I haven't prepared it, so I'm thinking kind of loud.
It's pretty, you can make a case for anyone, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one guy that I'd like to see him fight, I think for me, and I kind of surprised myself when I thought this, but I think it's going to be Callum Smith.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like him to fight Beterbiev, maybe at light heavyweight and people like that, but I just think that's not his weight. He beat Kovalev up there, but I think his best weight at the moment, certainly, is super middle. And I think Callum Smith is the best super middleweight in the world right now. Mm-hmm. And I just think he has a certain style and physical advantages that will make it a really interesting fight as well. He's tall, he throws good jabs, but he also likes to dip down to the body. And that could dissuade Canelo from coming forward aggressively in a way Kovalev didn't with his jab alone. Yeah. He's a very good body puncher. He's a good counter puncher as well. I just think it's a really nice clash of styles between a more fluid, kind of aggressive, compact fighter in Canelo and a taller, rangier, more stand-up European-style fighter, albeit with some nuances in Callum Smith. So, yeah, that's definitely my number one pick.
No, it's a good first pick. And you've sort of swayed me to pick Beterbiev because of what you said. It's not his natural way. When you talk about great fighters, they do things that no one expects and no one believes they can do. For example, Fury's comeback. He's now 10 times bigger because of what he's come through. If Canelo goes
10 times smaller in reality.
I love that. If he goes back up to light heavyweight and fights Beterbiev out of his comfort zone, I don't know if he'd be the underdog, but out of his comfort zone, certainly.
That's an interesting question. Would he be the underdog?
And Beterbiev has certainly staked his claim in this division so far. How great would that be if he then wins? And how big would he be? He'd also, if he goes to Russia, well, in fact, he wouldn't go to Russia because it's probably the end of this year. It'd be in America, but, you know, it's just that fight there excites me, and the big sort of point behind it is no one expects it. It's out of his comfort zone, and it'd make him greater than he already is and a bigger star than he already is. And also, in fact, no, I'm going to use that next point for my next opponent. It's a
Might not
reasonable
get your
point.
next opponent. You don't know, do you?
You're not going to pick him, I don't think.
Oh, right,
Go
okay,
on,
fair enough.
you can have you go, and then we'll
No, now
see.
you've said that, I know I'm not going to pick him because it's probably the most obvious out of all of them. But I'm going to go
Yeah,
for Gennady Golovkin. I
yeah,
just think I'm not sure Golovkin's the same fighter he was in the first Canelo fight, and maybe
he
not in the
is.
second. But
Oh,
but
that gets to me.
I think there needs to be a certain level of closure because although I had Canelo winning the second fight, a lot of people didn't, and the vast majority had Canelo losing their first fight. So I think there needs to be a certain level of closure, and one man needs to prove decisively better than the other. I think Canelo's probably weighted in the belief that Golovkin will fade over time, not just because he's the older man, but also because he had a very long amateur career and spent a lot of time in the relative wilderness as a pro as well before their first fight. You know,
Yeah.
he was fighting kind of good level contenders, but not the top names.
Hmm.
Um, he's got a belt at middleweight, of course, against Derevianchenko. Was probably pushed harder than anyone anticipated in that one. But Derevianchenko is a very good fighter, so it doesn't necessarily mean that Golovkin's slipping. But just not only the fact that there needs to be closure, but also the first two fights were great fights. The second one I absolutely loved. Canelo going on the front foot, switching it up. Golovkin countering a bit more, and they're both so technically adept and able to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
adapt during a fight as well. It's like a chess match, but a real aggressive chess match with lots of punches landed and evaded. So yeah,
Yeah.
just I'd really like to see them get it on again.
Who would? And that's one of the most exciting fights in boxing. It's a blockbuster. It's a mega fight, and no one's going to be complaining with that. Unfortunately, my next pick, I think some people will be complaining. I'll put my hands up. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of it, but Anthony Dirrell, and I say that because of the position he's in, the position we're in boxing as well. Obviously, former champ, just lost to David Benavidez, and I think it's just a nice opponent. He'll probably take a little bit less money, and it can be done in America. September, I think it'd be an easy fight, and Canelo would sort of 90%, 5% of the people who believe Canelo wins.
I think you've just lost the draft.
Pardon?
I think
No,
you
I don't want that fight to happen, but I've seen it's been speculated.
but
Honestly, I've
that's
seen.
what the draft is. It's who do you want him to fight, not who's he likely to fight.
I'm sure you texted saying Canelo next opponent sort of thing. Well, to be fair, it's up to the public, but yeah, I guess I think that's a likely fight. I didn't know
Oh
it was.
no, I agree. It's a likely fight, but it's not
I
one
didn't
of
know. I
us.
didn't even know that. To be fair, then. Oh well, I'll stick with
All right.
it.
Well, my third choice, probably out of two, but I'm going to go with Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't want the fight, apparently at the moment, I still want to see it.
Hmm.
Partly because of style issues. We know Canelo has struggled before with movers and southpaws, and Billy Joe Saunders is one of the best southpaw movers, pound for pound, in the world.
So
He's two-weight world champion, unbeaten, very good amateur. Been waiting a long time now for his, you know,
big shot.
yeah, his coming out party, if you like.
Yeah.
Although, you know, maybe he should have took the fight for September, but that's something I'll ask him about if I get a chance to speak to him. But
Mm.
I just think he's got that skill set that could give Canelo problems. I don't know if he'd have enough to win or not. That's something we'd have to see, but it's a very intriguing fight for me.
Definitely. I mean, we all wanted it. And down the line, who knows, it could still happen. My last pick is one, I guess you could say a more want to happen than likely because he's almost signed the paper with Charlo, but it's not official yet. Derevenchenko, and the reason I say I'd more want to happen because he gave Triple G such a great fight, then why not give Canelo a great fight as well? Because the gate that Canelo's got over his last two fights is over 8 million. Like that's crazy. But I just see Derevenchenko wanting to fight anywhere, anytime, and I don't think he'd be as bothered. Maybe if he loses out on 1 million, who knows? But maybe more than 1 million he'd lose out on. But I just think that is a great fight. I think he'd be up for it if the Charlo fight isn't sealed. And who wouldn't want to see that? That how close he pushed Triple G. You never know. He could give Canelo some real problems.
Yeah, and it's a good kind of measuring stick between the two
Hmm.
fighters as
Yeah,
well,
before
Triple G,
they
you know, to
fight.
see, yeah, where they are at this stage of their careers.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, do you want to recap your three before we put it to the vote?
So my first pick was Arthur Beterbiev, my second pick was Dirrell, and my third pick was Derevyanchenko.
Okay, so I've gone with Callum Smith, number one, Gennady Golovkin, which would be the third fight between them, number two,
Mm-hmm.
and Billy Joe Saunders, number three.
Great, all great fights. Who
None
do you
of which
think?
are going to happen, if we're honest, in September, but they're the ones I'd like to see, you know.
I'm glad
Um,
you said it at the end instead of the start. Who do you think gives him the best shot then? Callum Smith, do you think?
what to beat him?
Yeah, the best bet.
Yeah, I think so because he's a natural super middleweight, maybe even going into light heavyweight at some point. So he's going to have a size advantage, and he can match him or almost match him at least for skill. So I think that's a very interesting fight for those two reasons. I think you need both to beat Canelo.
Certainly, certainly. I think the best fights on Danny's side, the most likely fights on my side. So whoever you want to vote for, it's up to you guys. But it's been interesting one. Enjoyed it as always, and yeah, thanks for watching anyway.
Make sure you comment below, guys. We look forward to hearing
Yeah.
from you.